So now for a closer look at the situation, we're joined by Ken Lodge. He is the mayor of Lac du Bonnet, and that's where he joins us from today. Thank you so much for making time for us.
My pleasure.
First, I just want to ask you how you're doing. Of course, there's been some tragic news coming out of your community. How are you and those who live there coping today?
Well, I suspect that the majority of people that know these people are like me, feeling somewhat devastated by the whole thing. I knew the individuals personally, unfortunately, but there is no but. It's a terrible situation, and it's a horrible, horrible tragedy that this occurred. Our community is going to be shaken over that. We are resilient, and we will recover from it, but these are friends and family members and residents of our community. And we have a fairly large, broad spread community here, but socially we're all very close. And it makes it very tough. Today, it started off very smoky in town. It's not so bad right now, but the air quality is very poor. We've been very fortunate in town, in particular, because we did not have to evacuate. However, the staging point for both the people that were being evacuated was here at our community center, and they probably accommodated close to 800 people through there to get them off to various other locations so that they could be safe for at least the next 3 days. From what I understand, the fire is still out of control. However, they have made substantial progress in putting out the hot spots that were out there and have protected the majority of the property. It does not mean that with a change in wind direction and or a lack of rain that these things can't flare up significantly again. And as we can appreciate and understand, the area is in a dire strait right now, primarily because of the very extreme dryness of the area and the wind conditions. It's quite unique for us in May to experience it to this extreme, and it's probably the first time in my life that I can remember it being to this extent, this close to the community. I mean, routinely we do have forest fires, and they're managed relatively quickly, but this is truly exceptional.
Mr. Lodge, you've mentioned several points that I do want to discuss a little bit further. First, I do want to offer my sympathies since, of course, you say that yourself and many members of the community knew the two individuals who unfortunately did not survive when that evacuation order was in place due to the wildfires. I'm wondering first if there's anything you can share with us about these individuals that you would like the public to know about who they were.
Well, I really don't feel comfortable doing that other than to say that they were well loved and respected within our community. And, in order to give the family and the immediate friends some room, I feel it's probably best not for me to comment too much on that at this point in time. But nonetheless, it's a very devastating thing.
And certainly you've indicated that it is such a tight-knit community as well, and so many people will know who those individuals are, and it will be a difficult time, of course, to move forward. You talked a little bit about the challenge with evacuations too. What might be in place that could remove some of those challenges to ensure safety, as we know the fire near Lac du Bonnet continues to burn out of control?
Well, right now, at this point in time, the main thing is to keep people out of the area. Largely, everybody has been evacuated, and they're not letting anybody in yet. Yesterday, we had a significant problem with people flying drones while we had active participation of the water bombers, and the water bombers had to be withdrawn from the area because it was unknown exactly where all of those drones were flying. So it was reported, and for safety considerations alone, they had to be removed, and that's very unfortunate. In some cases, some of the areas that were being, at risk, really had very limited access, one road in, one road out. And you have to understand this is cottage country, so most people really do enjoy having the forest around them. And as such, not all of the land is cleared. Now, we also have a significant amount of rock outcrop here where there's jack pine and spruce growing in those areas, which when it's dry like this, it's a literal tinderbox. And when it starts going, it just runs all along those areas. So needless to say, it's incredibly important that people do not have open fires of any kind, or in fact do anything where it could potentially create a spark or some form of a heat source that would potentially create a fire. And with the winds that we have, it will get out of control. So best off to not do that. Nopaming Park and Whiteshell Park are both being evacuated. If they haven't been, well, Nopaming Park was put under evacuation notice yesterday. Whiteshell is under evacuation notice today because of fires that are occurring both in the park as well as in Ontario that have crossed the border into Manitoba. Our fires here that are relatively close to our community are quite broad in extent and are out of control. And limited access to those areas is going to prevent effective firefighting methods from being deployed. So it's really, really important that we reap the benefit of some rain. Not much else we can do without it at this point.
You know, very finally, I wanted to ask you, Mayor Lodge, in terms of your comment that you made that this is the first time in your life that you've seen this sort of a situation in Lac du Bonnet. How unusual is what the community and the province experiencing right now?
Well, I'm going to say that we've seen an increase in both the severity and the number of fires over the years, and I believe that I do have to attribute that to a certain extent to climate change, but there are the effects of allowing, I guess, Mother Nature not to take the course and actually have smaller burns that will allow for green growth and new growth to get rid of the old deadfall and everything that's out there. It's very, very difficult to manage that. With the increasing extremism in the weather conditions, I suspect that we're going to see significantly more weather conditions like this earlier in the season and perhaps throughout the year. This year, as the snow dissipated, a lot of it just evaporated off. It really did not run off. And as such, it became dry almost immediately. So the risk had been there for some time, but I think we were lulled into a false sense of security in believing that, well, it was still only April or it's only May, and it's not May long weekend, which traditionally is cool and wet. And up to this point, normally it would be relatively cool and wet. But when we're running 20 degrees over the average and doing that for several days or longer at a time, it really creates the situations where this is going to happen in the future. And we have to think about finding ways to be prepared for that. And each community is going to be unique in their response to that, depending upon what the hinterlands are in their immediate surroundings. But we need to be aware, and people need to educate themselves in fire prevention and fire protection, just as individuals, in order to protect themselves, but also, in essence, protect their neighbors and their friends. Because if their property is properly maintained, theoretically, it should help to cut down on the extreme wildfire situations that occur. There's just so many things that can be done, but that being said, we are still at the nature or at the mercy of Mother Nature.
Mayor Lodge, I want to thank you very much for your time and for sharing your perspective with our viewers. That was Ken Lodge. He's the mayor of Lac du Bonnet.
Thank you.